Funny, share.
Yeah. Good evening. Dr. Rohit Om Prakash sir has made a wonderful presentation. He's an expert surgeon, a very, very scientific presentation. I will just put forward some points. Yes. Can you see me now?
Hello.
Coming, yeah, ma'am, it's coming. Just
Hello?
do to slide.
After
Slideshow mode.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So my topic is that if there is a Rexis extension, should we convert to MSICS? And Rohit sir has already presented his side of the story, and I think he has put it very well. He has put both sides forward, when you should convert and when you should not. So it's like getting married after a broken engagement. Why and what can happen if there is a Rexis extension? So what are the risk factors for Rexis extension? All of us are doing our capsulorhexis, whether you're doing SICS or phaco. Rexis is essential for a good surgery and in an IOL bag, in the bag placement of the intraocular lens. So most of the times we are able to do a Rexis. And when there is a problem, that means that the case itself, the conditions itself are problematic. And if there is a Rexis extension, that would add to the problems of a shallow anterior chamber, weak zonules, a high positive vitreous pressure, a large CCC, inexperienced surgeons, and you have to accept that yes, beginners or learners do find difficulty, which is in SCCC, pediatric cataracts, intumescent and hypermature cataracts. So these are patients who already have problems, and these are the patients in which the Rexis may be a problem, and extension will complicate this. If there is an extension of the Rexis, what happens is there is insufficient capsular support for IOL implantation, especially in the bag. You do not know how it will behave or how it will decenter later on, especially if you're using any kind of lenses. There may be vitreous presentation with the extension of the tear posteriorly. There may be nucleus drop. There may be a posterior capsular rupture or a zonular rupture. What happens to the IOL centration? So you may have a decentered monofocal or a trifocal lens if it extends posteriorly and it is complicated by a posterior capsular tear. You do not want to see this in a post-operative patients, especially if there is a decentered toric IOL. If there is a hard cataract with or without zonular weakness, more hydro procedures, nuclear manipulation, phaco time, zonular compromise, endothelial loss. And definitely one has to say that if there is a Rexis extension, the expertise of the surgeon definitely comes into play. There will be a flap which is present. You have to deal with it because the edge of the flap may get engaged into the phaco tip and may be more problems, and it may pull and cause a zonular weakness. And when I was learning phaco, I learned that the Rexis is the circle of safety, and if you break the Rexis, you break the commitment to phaco emulsification. So definitely surgeon expertise does come into play if you want to complete the phaco emulsification. It has been proven that there is an increased incidence of complications with an extension of the Rexis in phaco emulsification. So if there is a tear in the Rexis, okay, so like Sir said, that one must consider converting to an extracapsular technique without external pressure. And manual SICS in today's day. And if there is a Brunison cataract with weak zonules and a small pupil, converting it would be more prudent to a SICS. Anterior capsular tear increases the risk of PCR, as we all know. The diopter of astigmatism is much better than PCR with a decentered IOL. Sometimes compromise is good when it is for the patient's good. As you can see over here, this is a very intumescent cataract. You can see the deposits on the anterior capsule. You are trying to do a phaco emulsification. And once you try to do a Rexis, you can see the Argentinian flag sign over here. And what you would try to do would be to try to fashion this into a sort of a capsular bag. But as you can see, the extension of the Rexis is beyond what you can see under the iris, and you do not know how far it is. And here you fashion a bag And definitely it would not be like a good rhexis, and then it would be difficult to proceed in such a patient. And this is the scenario that can happen, that you continued, you had a PC tear, and after this,
1 minute remaining.
you're doing phacoemulsification with some pieces, you extend this incision after the complication has occurred, the incision is now not controlled, and you would now deliver this as SICS. But if you take a decision, customize the case, and decide to do a SICS, you can abandon this temporal incision, which is very small nowadays, 2.4 millimeters, seal it, and change the site and do a planned SICS surgery instead of this, where you would end up suturing it and delivering this with the glide and compromising the endothelium, the need for a vitrectomy, removal of the pieces with a glide or with visco expression, as you will be seeing now, and increasing the surgical time, compromising the ocular tissues, the endothelium, and having a complicated surgery with vitreous loss and the possibility of cystoid macular edema later on. So as sir has said, that each case has to be customized. If you are not experienced and you are not sure, and even though there is a flap motility sign, you do not know how it will behave, and at any given time it can extend to the posterior capsule, complicating your surgery, a need of posterior segment surgery, or a vitreous loss, or a nucleus drop. So to conclude, I would say that a bad compromise is better than a good lawsuit. And it is not a bad compromise. It is not a compromise to do an SICS, because SICS is a relevant surgery even today. It is better to give results which are uncomplicated with the patient 6-6, maybe at the end of 6 weeks with a cylinder, but the patient safety is very, very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ragini. Wonderful talk and a lot of things covered in the 2 talks. Before we go on to the discussion, I just want to inform you that there's going to be again a small change. Srinivas Joshi and Jatinder would have to talk because Srinivas has to start the quiz, take part in the quiz which starts shortly in the Kerala State Conference. So, so we go on to the question, and is Dr. Virendra Agarwal or Dr. Namrata is also there?
Yeah.
Okay, Namrata, I'll take
So
your
yes,
network is good? Yes.
Yeah, Chitra.
Okay. See, if you've had a rhexis extension, do you believe that one small rhexis extension is just a small 1-point weakness? Would you think of making more extensions so that that rhexis one area weakness gets redistributed? Or would you never dream of doing this because you would believe that you are losing out on the sulcus support later?
No, I think I would do the latter. I will not do it ever, because one area of extension doesn't mean that other areas also have to be similarly weakened. And if you have to put the lens on the sulcus, then like you said, you're losing out on that sulcus. So I would, if it has extended onto one side, I think both the debates were really very good. And if you are a experienced surgeon, then possibly you can go ahead and do it with the flap motility sign in mind, which is a very good scientific reason for, to gauge as to when you have to convert and when you don't have to. But if you're not confident enough, and if you're in your learning curve, or if you're, Ragini very nicely told us the situations in which, we should go ahead and convert, especially in the complicated cases.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Susan. I wanted to ask you, these are the places where you need this IOL scaffold at times, So would you advise when an IOL scaffold has to be used and how it has to be used, very briefly?
IOL scaffold generally is in one of 2 situations, either after PCR has happened or in white cataracts where, you want to keep the PC back. In those cases also, when they were small, Morgagnian kind of cataract where you want to bring the lens out, the hard nucleus out, but the PC starts fluttering, so you want to keep that away from your phaco probe. There's no cortex there to save you from the PC, not coming forward. In those situations also, you can put an IOL scaffold early. And a third situation is, of course, when you want an explant an IOL. So with an anterior capsular tear, I think I would, because everything is still there in the bag, the cortex, the nucleus, everything is there. It's not going to be possible to do a scaffold in that situation. I think I would it would depend on a lot of factors. What is the grade of cataract? What is the size of extension? See if it's gone around, see if you can kind of do any other complicated factors like Dr. Ragini said in the eye, and then you can proceed. In many cases, you find you can proceed. In those cases where you think that you may be causing more harm than damage, especially in the hard brown cataracts where you really have to do much more stress forces, rotation, everything is going to put some, shear and stress on the capsule. In those cases, maybe you can think of easily converting to an SICS, but not for every case for sure. There are many, many cases, and I'm sure all of us have done it, where we have an anticapsular tear and we just continue with phaco uneventfully and put an IOL in the bag. Ma'am, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. No. I just wanted you to tell that it is not done in these situations at all.
Yeah.
I don't see Dr. Purendra Bhasin. I think Vere is connected on a different phone. Pallavi Desai, it's different, I think. I just wanted to ask Dr. Virendra Agarwal, I would ask you this question. If there is a rexus extension and is even stopped fluttering, so you are anxious at that time. So would you continue to chop, or would you sculpt, or would you do an AC phacoemulsification, anterior chamber?
I beg your pardon. You said that the fluttering has stopped.
Yes.
The fluttering has stopped means it is already extension.
Yes.
So I think Dr. Rohit Prakash has come out with a very novel idea, and it is really very good help. And whenever the flap is fluttering, we continue with the
Not
phaco.
fluttering. What would you do?
If
Would
it is
you-
not fluttering, then I have to call for help, because I'm not very good in MICS. So I take help from my people who are doing MICS. But basically, the thing is that if fluttering has stopped, then you have to take a call. Here, I would have some suggestions from the surgeon also. And my point is that if fluttering has stopped, and you can bring that nucleus in the sulcus or in the out of the bag, then you can think of a scaffold. Because if it is given maybe only from the 1 point, then with the 3-piece IOL, you can have a scaffold. But if the nucleus is brown, then the cornea will be definitely compromised if you do phaco in those situations, even with the scaffold. I agree that the nucleus will not go in the vitreous, but the cornea may be having a compromise because of doing the hard phaco. But otherwise, in soft cases, definitely the scaffold is going to work if it is stopped fluttering.
Yes. Yes, Susan, anything to add in this kind of a scenario?
Yeah, I think most of the points are covered. Again, just continuing, if you want me to continue on that IOL scaffold, if you actually put in an IOL with a completely intact capsular bag and everything, it actually may become more of a problem. So I think scaffold is indicated in the 3 conditions which I mentioned earlier, PCR or a small nucleus where the PC is fluttering, or an IOL explantation.
Okay. So